Hello and welcome to No Veto Video. I'm Carson.
And I'm Catherine. This week, we're happy to have you guys along with us as we respond to the movie, Oscar-nominated movie, Song of the Sea from 2014. It's directed by Tom Moore, stars David Rowie, Brendan Gleeson, Fionnuala Flanagan, Lisa Hannigan, and Lucy O'Connell.
Song of the Sea follows a family with some differences. I don't want to go too much into spoilers, although the plot synopsis online might...
in the first 10 seconds, you kind of get a sense of what kind of tale this is.
Yeah.
If you know folklore.
That's true. And it didn't take me long to pick up on what was going on either. But just to leave out any spoilers, at least this far into our episode, the family dynamic is rough because something happened to the mother and we aren't sure what at the beginning. And then the story tells in more detail what specifically happened and the family trying to reconnect with each other.
I think that's fair. For me, so I had known that this was a Oscar-nominated film. The other, the sort of far and away, gonna run away with the category film of that year was Big Hero 6. So, this never really even got a chance.
Yeah.
But it was from the same studio that did Book of Kells. If you have seen that, I've seen a bit of it, not all of it all the way through, but I enjoyed that. The subject matter is interesting to me. It's coming up seasonally to be, timely appropriate.
Mm-hmm.
And it's available on Netflix, which really does boost the number of views that a thing can get. So, for all of those reasons, that's why I picked that for this week. And my hope was that you would enjoy it. We've had some pretty heavy fare over the last couple of weeks. Mm-hmm. And my hope was that this would be a little lighter, a little sweeter, and just something more comforting. I think it was.
Yeah.
I think this has some of those same, beats as other children's movies. First act tragedy.
Yeah.
Or prologue tragedy, and then sort of, in a lot of ways the beats of this story are laid out very much like children's film, throughout time. I think Finding Nemo is an archetypical example of that, except that it doesn't focus on the adventure of the child. But this film also felt different and new, as it sort of told a story from a perspective that American audiences don't get a whole lot of, that you and I don't get a whole lot of in our film viewing diet. What are some of those similar and then different things that stood out to you?
Well, a lot of children's movies that I've seen that fall in the similar story archetype, made by Americans for Americans, don't seem to focus much on folklore. It focuses more on anthropomorphizing things. I can't think of one off the top of my head. I can think of children's stories where we do that, like Cars, but it doesn't follow the same archetype. But I know, in general, that seems to be what we do with children's movies.
I'm also thinking about, there's obviously, folklore, we've got an animated Cinderella, we've got an we're revisiting the stories of folklore, but this actually, in a different way said, the subject of the film is our relationship to folklore, and that felt different.
That's what I meant.
I really enjoyed a lot of the performances in this movie, that there were a lot of different voiceover works that kind of let you in on the secret of the movie, which I'm not going to reveal here, but will become really very obvious quickly if you watch it. But that were just really nice touches. I think, I mean, we don't have to tell anybody that Brendan Gleeson's an excellent actor and who knows how to use the instrument of his voice to really good effect. But he really, I mean, he doesn't get a whole lot to do in this movie, but what he gets to do is actually really nuanced. And I think nuance is maybe my byword for this film. What were some of your takes on performance?
Well, actually, I want to touch a little on what you were saying about his voice. Voice turned out to be a very important part of this movie, and I think that all of the performers really had to focus on that in ways that, you know, if you're in live action, you can have facial expressions and arm movements, but because of the movie being focused on song and on vocal patterns, as well as the animated effect, you really got to hear how clearly they spoke, how deliberately they conveyed their lines. And I thought that was, I thought everyone did a really good job on that. It could have been just, the movie would have been totally different if they had lesser voice actors.
So, in that same vein, I want to call out the key animators for Saoirse, the little girl character.
Yeah.
They really nail some of those. She's a quiet child for reasons, and but she's quiet, but she's not unengaged. She's like absolutely positively following along with every single thing that's happening in the story, and like has feelings and thoughts about them and conveys them through her eyelids and her expressions. And those animators really did a very good job of saying, like, what's the difference between like annoyed and bored? Like, those could both be, you know. I'm thinking of, I'll tell you guys a story. I'm going to take a diversion to tell a story of, Carson and I went to see Fantasia 2000.
I knew that's where you were going.
In the theater. And so we're sitting, it's a packed theater. We're in Midtown Memphis, and we're watching this movie, and it goes to the Rhapsody in Blue segment. And it opens with a series of people who are kind of leaning in their windows with their hands on their, cheeks and chins, just sort of looking out of windows. And the little girl behind us says,
"Mommy, why are the people bored?
Why are the people bored, Mommy?" And she won't let go. Like, she just keeps it up. But on the other hand, the animators had not conveyed blues to her. They had conveyed boredom. She knew what boredom looked like. Boredom looks like leaning your hand on your face on your hand and sighing, and it was just very funny. So, nailing emotions in a 2D format is really hard.
Yeah. Especially in a children's movie.
Right? So...
I mean, you and I got it from context, but once that child was saying, "Why are they bored?" They started looking bored to me.
Those people looked bored. Yeah, if you didn't know that Rhapsody in Blue was, like, playing on the theme of the blues.
Yeah.
These folks are bored. Why are these people bored? I'm not sure. You want to veer into spoiler talk?
We could, yeah.
So we're gonna kind of head into spoiler territory from here. So if you want to skip that, you should probably fast forward a bit, maybe 5 minutes or so, and then we'll be done, and you'll come back to us for the overrides.
It was, in my opinion, pretty obvious as soon as, not the first time the children are in the water at the beach, but the night scene when Saoirse puts on her coat and jumps in the water and starts swimming with the seals. What
Carson's basically saying is that when they explicitly spelled it out for him, Carson caught up.
Well, what I'm saying is they explicitly spell it out for you without actually saying it. Yes. So if you know anything about folklore, or have picked up the Monster Manual for D&D and ever read through it, you'll know exactly what's going on.
So in this film, of course, you've got the Silkies, Seal, who have the ability to become human beings, and they sort of spin this myth about them, and you understand, I think, right from the very beginning, at least I did, that not only is the mother one, but the daughter is one as well. Mm-hmm. And so that's really where some of the beauty of the double casting comes in. So that the father is... So Brendan Gleeson plays both the father and the mythical grieving man. That the grandmother... oh gosh, what's her name? Miss Flanagan is playing both the granny and the witch. Mm-hmm. That the ferryman is playing both the ferryman and the sort of beardy man of myth. And that, so that not only are those roles working off of one another, but there is a sort of sense of like the stories that you tell help you understand what's happening in your life. Mm-hmm. And like this kid needed all of these myths that he brought forward from his ancestors that he was taught by his mother to make sense, not only of the fact that his world was tinged with mythology, but even from just a straight perspective, is that in dealing with grief and loss and things turning out different than we expected, we need these stories, that they provide meaning and context for our lives. We are the stories we tell.
Yeah.
Hi, it's Catherine OneNote again.
I caught all the other dual roles, but I didn't catch the ferryman was also the long-bearded guy who directs people and helps them with their travels.
They were drawn very similarly, or I don't think I would have gotten it. Yeah. But
after you said it, it made perfect sense. Their role in each of the worlds was exactly the same. It's to get people where they're going. Yeah. With the exception of Beardy Man's role was not to drink with the dad. Or the giant in this case.
It's not an exact one-to-one analogy, but the point is that you've got good stuff going on there. So, and so, seeing this sort of the passing out of the world of the actual mythological creatures, but their stories remain, or that it's important to keep telling those stories of the leaf folk, even if they're not here anymore, which I think is an interesting tale, an interesting addition to the mythology. That part is not lifted from any of the old myths, even while some of these are lifted from the old myths. But yeah, I enjoyed all of the little, most of the critters have been turned to stone, so you get sort of this, grumbling of, things that are stuck or fixed or lost. Just really, I don't know, it's just a really enjoyable film. I liked the richness and the specificity of the interiors. Mm-hmm. You only get a few. You get the house and the Granny's house and the Holy Well, which was really very interesting.
I mean, if you count the inside of caves, you get a few more as well.
But, in the witch's house. You get the interior of the witch's house. And how are they similar tavern. And how are they not similar, yeah. But also the art is very spare, so it's able to convey so much with what is a relative... It's not a lot of times we've been talking lately about just how far animation has come, especially computer animation, Pixar movies. Mm-hmm. And the hair, the water, the skin, how crazy it's gotten.
Yeah. But this looked sort of like the cartoons we see from the 70s that we were still watching during our childhood with kind of the blocky faces. And
I think it intentionally is lifting from an illustration style.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah.
They want you to focus on the story instead of being distracted by all of the, ooh, look at each individual hair.
Well, and to say this is a story too, so that you
Yeah.
never get sucked into like these are real people. Like
Yeah.
this is also a tale.
I think using that, in a way, older art style also connects us to the past of, going through time to the art, just like the story was talking about the creatures that are no longer around. So there's a parallel there, I think.
Yeah. Anything else?
Hmm.
I'm just add up with enjoyment of this film. The music, the art, the animation style, the voice acting. Like I have very little, even in the message, the themes. I have very little to pick on with this film,
Yeah.
and so because I so unabashedly enjoy all the different parts of it, it's hard to kind of lift anything up in particular.
Yeah, I don't even think there were really any editing issues.
No, it goes on exactly as long as it's supposed to.
At the right pace.
Yeah, it's really I think watch this for Halloween. This is a Halloween story. It's set on All Hallows Eve, and it's really very fun. It's a fun movie. So if you're tired of Coco, you can watch this instead. It's really very very enjoyable.
So if you think we left anything out on this review, or want to add to it, please comment down below, or go to our website, novetovideo.com, and
Carson
leave it.
assures me he's about to update it.
Yeah, we're going on a little mini vacation, and I hope to get the site updated. So hopefully by the time you see this, you'll be able to comment on the site as well.
Yeah, we'll see.
Currently you can comment, but I'm back a few videos, so you'd have to comment on the older videos.
Comment here. We will respond to the comments. Hope you have a lovely time. Alright, so, overrides. I'm excited. The overrides, which we sort of use based on our theme of veto, is a movie that we suggest alongside of or in place of this film, maybe suggested by our reflection on it or conversation around it. And then we present it to you as sort of a companion or replacement piece. So what's your override?
I'm going to let you go first to see which ones you end up taking. When we were watching the movie, we both found...
Like 2 or 3 that we were...
And they were the
same.
same,
So my first is a cheat, which is to say I think, if you have enjoyed this film, to check out the studio's previous work, The Book of Kells. For those of you who don't know, the Book of Kells is a illuminated Bible with lots of... it's one of the most gorgeous illuminated Bibles, I think, in the world, and it has some very detailed art, and this is ancient art, and so the Book of Kells kind of riffs on the art style of the illustrations in the Book of Kells. So check that out. And my first real one is Wizard of Oz. Kind of riffing on the same theme of double casting, riffing on the same, theme of really just that. but that the idea that the mythological and the strange help us understand the real and the mundane. I guess I'll say that.
So,
I really wanted to do the one that Carson's about to do, but I'm going to take this one instead.
Oh, I was going to do a different one since I thought you were going to take it.
Oh, well, we'll have one more then.
I was going to say Coco because I thought she was going to take the other one. So there's a lot of differences between this and Coco, but it is... Coco is also a story of a child trying to find his family and learn what happened to some of his ancestors. It's not at Halloween, but it's at Day of the Dead, so it's...
The direction of the travel in Wizard of Oz is more similar to The Song of the Sea than the direction of travel in Coco.
Yeah.
Let's see, what else we got? Oh, so, and I'm also not allowed to recommend Coco because I recommended it, several months ago.
See, why don't you say the one that best encapsulates, if you like this, you would like...
Spirited Away.
Which is the one that we both came up with almost simultaneously during the movie.
If you enjoyed this, you would also enjoy Oscar-nominated film Spirited Away.
Yes.
So watch that. Watch it anyway. Just watch that movie. It's excellent in its own rights.
It is.
Yeah, some of what this film was doing was suggested by that film.
I think our viewers might also like Kubo.
Yeah, Kubo and the Two Strings. I would just say that, like, this film, this maybe a last thought, I should have said this earlier. Last thought was that this film is so generous to its witch character.
Yeah.
And even to the granny character, who was genuinely awful. But
Yeah.
but it is, in as far as it can be, it is generous to her, and I appreciate, as a woman who's getting older and is croning fast, I appreciate that. So that's my thoughts.
So next time on No Veto Video, we'll be reviewing Hardcore Henry from 2015, and you can find that on Netflix.
This is a perfect use of a No Veto Video choice. It is a perfect choice. Because I would never, ever, ever consent to watch this on my own.
It actually has a much higher Netflix rating than most of the movies I've shown you that you've liked, so...
So we'll see. I don't know. People like stuff, huh? Alright. So, if you're interested in watching that when we come back, hit the subscribe button so you get a notification. It also has something to do with our metrics, or, I don't know, everybody else on YouTube asks you to subscribe, why not us?
And hit the little bell thing. That's the new thing on... I guess YouTube no longer notifies people if they subscribe.
Oh.
They have to hit the little notification
And
bell.
ask to be notified. Subscribe and ask to be notified. And hey, I don't know, I'm not above begging. Go on and like the video too. That's that. That was me asking you to subscribe. Now I say thank you for sticking with us. We've enjoyed chatting about this really good movie with you. Please excuse all the noise this episode. Our cue cards have been falling off. Have a great day. And we'll see you again soon. Bye.
Bye.